Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Guys Who Stare at Stats. I'm Cade Kennedy, joined by Andrew Santangelo, and welcome to the official dog days of summer where, man, there's almost nothing happening. I hate to be blunt about it, but there's baseball, there's summer league basketball for the NBA, and that's about it. That is literally it. There's nothing else going on. Unless you are a big Canadian football fan, I guess. I don't know what else there is to talk about even. So this might be one of the shorter shows. This might be the shortest show in the history of the Guys Who Stare at Stats. But as always, turning it over to my colleague, Andrew. Andrew, how is everything going for you today?
It's going very well. I can't believe, how fast every day goes by. It's already mid-July. Soon enough, we'll be back here and have everyone back on campus, which just seems crazy to think about and diving into that. But, no, like you said, obviously now that basketball, their free agency, the NBA's stopped a little bit, where it's going to be a little less to talk about, but that's what we're here for. We're the sports people here to find the lower topics to talk about and give it to the fans.
Yeah, some days you just got to do that. You just have to find the most random thing you can cover. This is one of those weird times, especially with Big 12 Media Days and the official start, I would say, of the college football preseason happening tomorrow. This is the last day of nothing. This is the preseason is about to begin for everything. We're kind of right on the edge here. So let's get into it. First thing to talk about, recapping some NBA free agency news while we were away. Damian Lillard, we talked about this on the Thursday show, how the New York Post had an article where it seemed Damian Lillard was not able to communicate with the Blazers just at all. And then he signs a 2-year extension for $122 million. So maybe that wasn't true. Maybe it's just another little, hey, he said, she said, who knows? Maybe no one said, I don't know. One of those weird scenarios, but if there's any team this is going to happen to, it always is Portland. This has been the never-ending saga of Lillard would like help. He's going to be loyal. He never gets the help he needs. Are you ever going to trade him, or are you going to honor his loyalty to the team?
I do know this $61 million a year must be nice once that contract
ends. I'm sure.
But, Portland's weird. At this point with that contract, that tells me they're going to honor his loyalty. I said this before the show. I don't think there's anybody I'd pay $61 million to. We talk about trying to find him help. How are they going to find him help when they just gave $61 a year to one guy?
Yeah.
I get it. Some people might go ahead and pay that. Think about it. Damian Lillard just made that contract. When Durant's back up for a contract, when Giannis is back up, what are those guys going to make at this point?
Yeah.
I don't know. I get how good they are. I get how good Damian is, but I'm not paying him $61 million. I need to put other pieces around my team, and that came the same weekend that Harden takes a $15 million pay cut to help get some other guys around him. So it's all kind of crazy the way all this stuff shapes out. But no, like you said, it wouldn't happen to anyone else but Portland. And, it just worries me for his future there with them and how much really they'll be competing because they don't have anywhere to spend now on that in 2025.
Yeah, and then moving on to kind of some minor deals here. The Atlanta Hawks agreed to a 1-year deal with Frank Kaminsky, so Frank the Tank finding somewhere to go. Danilo Gallinari, a 2-year, $13.3 million deal with the Boston Celtics. And Taj Gibson, a 1-year deal with the Wizards. So some teams still getting their role players signed and things like that. I always forget how long free agency actually is because you have that big day where everything seems to happen, and now here we are 2 weeks later still getting updates slowly rolling in.
Yeah, and there'll still be guys up until camp and preseason. I'm sure we're missing a couple people on who might still be signed, but it'll still be there, and we'll find each show. I'm sure there'll be another guy to come out and talk about.
I'm sure there will. This was the main guy I plan to talk about, DeAndre Ayton, coming into today, and then about 45 minutes ago that changed a little bit. But DeAndre Ayton is expected to get an offer sheet from the Indiana Pacers. With the Brogdon trade the Pacers have made, they do have the salary now to give the offer sheet if they want to. It's expected that they will. I'd heard that maybe San Antonio would be involved as well, but San Antonio seems more like they're trying to tank for Wembanyama next year. So that really doesn't make any sense for San Antonio. That feels more like a smokescreen just to get Indiana to sign the deal already.
No, absolutely. I think there's. But here's the thing with San Antonio.
San Diego.
Like,
Chargers coming back to play basketball now?
That'd be cool. No, I think. I don't know. They're a team that's always going to be in there because they want to be good. Obviously, Pop stays as coach. You're going to come down to the end here shortly. I know he already said he'll be here this year. Who knows if he'll be further than that. But it's going to stink to see the Spurs in the final days not have anyone to really ride home about. And obviously, they got DeJounte Murray and everything. So if they're able to add a center, that could go a long way. So honestly, I would love for them to go out and if that report's true, I'd love Ayton down there.
I would too. I think if the Spurs could put something together that just feels like how they are, they're kind of one of the last few, we're not going to tank. That's not what we do. But, I mean, I heard him mention today, they were the ones who started the resting thing. I mean, it could come full circle. Just sign someone and just rest him 82 games.
Well, forget, they kind of started the tanking too.
They
Back
did.
in the 90s, they rested
That
they
is
set
true.
out Tim Duncan so their picks would be bad.
That is true.
And
But
that's how they started that dream team.
yeah,
So
not the modern era of tanking.
let's not forget about them doing that.
That is true. There are two eras of tanking: the old school era and this era. Never thought I'd say that on this show. There are two generations of it. And Zion Williamson is getting a $193 million contract extension with the Pelicans. It is expected to be comparable to Joel Embiid's 2017 contract. It is a fully guaranteed contract and has a prior injury clause along with criteria for games played, as is the same with the Embiid contract. The Pelicans would need to waive Williamson for him to not receive the full amount.
Overpaid.
Overpaid?
That's all I can say.
That's all you can say?
I don't understand. That's a lot of money for Zion. He hasn't given or hasn't proven enough on the court. I get it when he's been on the court. He's got good numbers. He's played fairly well. But my thing is, listen, he hasn't played in over a year.
Yeah.
All we heard last year is how he wasn't in good shape, and you rewarded him for that?
Yes.
Like what?
That's
that's as bad as the Sixers saying, Ben Simmons, here's a contract for not playing. Here's a contract for not shooting. We're gonna reward you for the spots on the court you haven't improved your game on.
All I'm saying is I wish I could get paid $193 million to do nothing.
That's
I wish I could do that. That'd be a great job.
That's my point. Imagine having a job, and you've done some things well, you haven't done it. Here's $193 million pay raise.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense to me. He wasn't a free agent. You didn't have to be done this year. Obviously, no player wants to play on a one-year contract and all that. I get that, and there would have been some issues here, but to me, the Pelicans have the advantage.
Yeah.
Go prove your worth. Go prove that you deserve that contract. You need to get back on the court. Who's to say he doesn't get back on the court? And if all the rumors about him not being in shape and he can't keep up and down the court and his numbers go down a little bit, I don't know. To me, it was a premature contract there, and we'll see if it pays off for him.
Yeah, that's all you can do with Zion. It is just a weird situation where I really don't know. I think you should pay him, but at the same time, you got to wait and see what he actually does.
Exactly.
I agree with the idea of giving him an extension. I just don't agree with the idea of doing it right now.
Exactly, because he wasn't a free agent this year. The deal did not have to be done on July 12th. The deal could have been done at the end of next season.
Yeah.
You can even, I don't remember the deadline, but there's a deadline into the season where deals extensions could be made, I think. So I think it's a month or two in. So once he proved himself a month into the year, you could have given that contract.
Yes.
But I don't know. I'm not the one sitting in the GM chair, so.
Yeah, we're not in charge of the Pelicans. That may be a mistake if we were let in charge of them.
No, that'd be better.
Yeah, you never know. And a new Woj tweet dropped, as it does from time to time. Woj letting us know that Donovan Mitchell is officially available, I guess you could say. Utah is showing a willingness to listen on possible trade scenarios. And then Tony Jones, who covers the Utah Jazz for The Athletic, saying, expect the Knicks to quickly try and put together a package for Donovan Mitchell, according to league sources. Utah's bar for trading Mitchell is sky high, but the Knicks are a team that has the assets to make this a conversation.
So here's my conversation.
Okay.
First off, what are the pieces they're giving up for Donovan Mitchell? You giving up Julius Randle? How's that going to make you better?
Julius Randle.
Trade Julius Randle? my part two, are you going to trade Jalen Brunson already?
Yes.
How does it make sense?
I don't know.
Your biggest
Imagine
thing,
if they did that.
your
though.
biggest thing on draft day was to open up cap room to sign Jalen Brunson, and now you're going to be all in the trade for a guard,
Yes.
just like Jalen Brunson. Like, how does that make any? I don't know, I feel like that's the most. We were talking about Portland doing Portland things. I feel like this would just be New York doing New York things.
I mean, I guess maybe R.J. Barrett or someone like that getting traded.
It would have to be probably Randall, Barrett, and obviously a lot of picks. So what? You're gonna roll out with Donovan Mitchell and Brunson being your two go-to guys next year?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't
that
know.
doesn't make sense to me.
I feel like the Knicks are setting themselves up for failure, which, I mean, that's a Knicks thing. They've been doing that for a long time. But, I mean, you got your guy. You got Brunson. That was the guy you wanted to get. If you can get Mitchell, that'd be nice, but you can't have a team where it's just Brunson and Mitchell.
Exactly. And here's the thing where I think they got to be careful with. From what it sounds like, this package from Mitchell, if they were to go through with this, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm undervaluing Mitchell. I don't see Mitchell as a go-in, throw all your chips in for Mitchell kind of guy that's going to go win you a championship. That, to me, is the Kevin Durant. That, to me, is the LeBron James, the Giannis, the Luka, the Joel Embiid, a few years ago, probably James Harden, but not now. Those kind of pieces. My thing with Mitchell, like, you have to be careful, because if you're going to give up, hypothetically, Julius Randle, R.J. Barrett, and let's say another piece, probably another young guy we're forgetting about. Is those three guys better than one Donovan Mitchell? I think so. I'd rather, if you're asking me if I'm starting a team tomorrow and I'm taking over a team with Donovan Mitchell on it, or if I'm taking over a team with Julius Randle and R.J. Barrett, to me, those two is better than that one. Yeah, and in some cases, that's not the case. Like, if you're trading for Kevin Durant, yes, Kevin Durant is worth that. And that's where I think, again, I'm not a GM, but that's where if I was a GM, I'd be careful. Are those two guys more valuable than one guy? And I got nothing against Donovan Mitchell. I always like watching him, and maybe I am undervaluing him a little bit. But to me, he hasn't played at that caliber where it's like, okay, if he is the only guy on a team, he's going to take you to a top 3 or 4 seed, give you a chance to win a championship. I mean, he had a lot of talent there with Rudy Gobert, Josh Ingles. Like, there's a reason that team was so good. And now, obviously, there's been some chemistry, obviously, there. And I said the same thing with Rudy Gobert. He was not worth all that stuff. You gave up a ton.
5 first-round picks,
and that's interesting. And that's where it gets interesting here and I think I always ask myself, is those couple guys worth more than that one? And that's kind of where I was at when the Sixers traded for Harden at the time. Simmons obviously didn't play. Was Andre Drummond and Seth Curry worth the James Harden? In that case, yes. If you would have told me we gave up, I'm going to flip it there, and guys, I know there. If we flip it to, we gave up Tobias Harris, Seth Curry, and like a Drummond. Are those three guys? No, I think Tobias Harris went too much for that deal. And that's the same thing they're talking about now with trading Harris because of his contract and stuff. But that's where you got to be careful with. I almost view those two guys because even a trade for Durant. If you're going to trade 3, let's say you trade 1 starter and then 2 or 3 bench guys just for Durant. Now you're looking at. You have a hole, or some people are even willing to trade 2 starters. Now, down 1 starter, you're down depth, and if there's anything the NBA's taught us over the last few years, I feel like it's how important depth is in the NBA these days. So that to me, that's where you gotta be careful.
To me, the whole thing with Donovan Mitchell is, I don't think he's a guy you build your franchise around. I think he's a great second option for a team. I think Jalen Brunson would work really well as a third option if they had that guy. But the Knicks don't have a guy already there in place. Julius Randle's not that guy. R.J. Barrett's not going to be that guy. To me, Donovan Mitchell would be great as a second option, but if you're going to build your team and say, all right, this is the guy that's going to win us the East or get us to the playoffs or do whatever, yeah, he might get you to the playoffs, but you just go back to first-round exits. I mean, we already saw the Knicks do that.
No, exactly, and that's what I'm trying to see. I'm trying to think of a package where you're going to keep.
Let's go over.
You got R.J. Barrett, Julius Randle, Cam Reddish, Derrick Rose maybe to help with contract stuff, but obviously you're not going to keep a Rose, Brunson, and Mitchell. Maybe an Evan Fournier? Is that a possible trade option?
Let's see here. As we go to the great trade machine of NBA, of ESPN, let's see here. If the Knicks are getting Donovan Mitchell, that's $30 million you're looking at. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, I guess you could throw Derrick Rose if you're getting Brunson.
Yeah, because you're gonna want to get rid of that contract.
Yeah, I would say R.J. Barrett because that's your starting shooting guard. That would make sense to me. That'd be someone you want. You got to throw in one of Randle or Fournier, I would think. Maybe even a Cam Reddish as well. I mean, that balances out.
And then you do picks. Are you willing to do that,
Are
though?
you willing to throw 4 first-round picks, though, is the deal.
Well, my question is, let's throw out the picks. Pretend you're trading 0 picks. Are you willing to give up those 3 guys for a Donovan Mitchell? To me, that is a lot.
Yeah.
To give up for Donovan Mitchell.
I would say personally no, but I feel that the Knicks would say yes. Personally.
Let's see.
I feel like if you looked at what the Knicks are trying to do, they're trying to get back into win now mode. They want something now. They want to compete again. They feel this is their time. I feel like if they can make a move, they're going to make a move. This is how New York operates. It's been a few years too long. You know, you had your 1 year, you get beat by Atlanta. Oh well, move on. Maybe next year will be better. And it wasn't. It was a complete disaster. It was the complete opposite. Maybe you try to fix something around or swing it because, I mean, if you're rolling out a lineup of Mike Conley, R.J. Barrett, Bojan Bogdanovic, that's not the greatest lineup in the world for Utah. Maybe you could be a fringe play-in team, and I think they would accept that at this point because they're trying to. I don't know. They're in this weird world where they're not rebuilding, but they're not contending. They're just kind of retooling their roster, I guess you could say. But, I mean, there are so many options you could deal with. If you don't want to do Cam Reddish, maybe you throw Fournier, but that's 3 guards for 1. You already got enough guards as it is if you're Utah. You really don't need that. The only other option, like we mentioned, would be Julius Randle. And then, okay, maybe the Knicks want some other guard to go with. Maybe they want a Patrick Beverly. Maybe they want Rudy Gay at small forward.
That's another thing we got to talk about, Patrick Beverly. I don't know if you saw his comments, but I'll read that here in a little bit. But no, here's the thing. If I'm the Jazz and you're giving up Mitchell, if I'm them, I'm going after Julius Randle. Because you can make Mike Conley, I know he's not exactly what he used to be, but you can make Conley work as the starting point guard.
Yes.
And then Jordan Clarkson as the backup. You obviously have Patrick Beverly off the bench too, as you just mentioned, Cade. But then, so you'd roll out Conley, you'd roll out RJ, or no, well, if they end up giving up Randall, they'll keep Barrett and they'll probably give up Cam Reddish. So I think they'd then roll out Conley, Reddish, Randall, Bogdanovic, and Whiteside would be my guess for their starting 5.
Yeah, this is going to be a weird
And then if you're
scenario.
the Knicks, you'd roll out Mitchell, Barrett, I don't know. Man,
you could have Brunson, but
he can't play the 3 though.
yeah, I mean,
Unless Barrett, I forget how big Barrett is. Maybe you can stretch Barrett to the 3.
Yeah, maybe.
But I think he's about 6'5". That's kind of small for the 3 too.
Yeah, there's a lot of options here, but it's just, I guess if you're the Knicks, it's just pick what you want to do. You've got options if you want to make this trade. That's about all I can say there.
Only time will tell on that.
Yeah, only time will tell. Now, moving on to the Summer League, I want to touch on it for about 30 seconds because I'm going to be completely honest. It's been on. I've had it on as background noise. I've seen some cool highlights. I saw Richard Jefferson was a referee. That's neat. I'd like to see more players becoming referees. That way it'd be, I don't know, maybe they'd give us more content. Maybe we could have a segment where J.J. Redick's broadcasting a game and him and Richard Jefferson get into an argument about a foul call. That'd be awesome. That'd be fun to see. But so far, things are going well for most teams. I would say Oklahoma City's getting good production out of Chet Holmgren. Oklahoma City fans seem to be happy with where everything's going. Paolo Banchero, I know he got sidelined already with an injury, so not a good start for the Banchero era for the Magic. But one question I do have for you, and this might be the most pointless question I've ever asked on the show. Do you consider the Summer League the preseason, or do you consider it kind of more of the postseason? Because we still have free agency going on. That's kind of more postseason stuff, but it's also kind of the preseason for these players as they're getting their first they're getting their feet wet in the NBA.
I guess you'd go preseason because the
Mhm.
calendar turns to me at the draft and the free agency. That's when the next season starts for me. So I'd say this is the preseason since I do have a preseason schedule of 5 or 6 games. I want to consider it postseason because you already had the postseason, the finals end, and to me the calendar for the NBA year or any sport turns over at the start of free agency. To me, that begins the new calendar year because you're getting your new contracts and everything, and that's starting the year with their contracts. So I go preseason.
Alrighty, there we go. We've solved the most pointless question I will probably ever ask on the history of this show.
It's all right.
But that's literally it. That's all I have for the summer league. Like I said, I've watched like one game, maybe. That's about it. I don't know if you've got anything you want to add. I know you had that Patrick
Yeah, that's what I was
Beverley
gonna.
thing you want to mention.
I got nothing in terms of the summer league. I mean, obviously, you got to take it with a grain of salt. Who knows how much? I mean, it does obviously help a little bit their transition and everything.
It does.
But I don't know. Did you see his quote today?
I did not, no.
I mean, you know how Patrick Beverley is.
Yes,
though, right?
I know how he is.
Okay, so
One of the best characters in the NBA.
paraphrasing here. I missed the once the rumor started about the Donovan Mitchell trade and everything, he came out and said, "This is his quote: Utah, y'all trying to win or you're trying to tank? Let me know. We're gonna take Utah all the way, or Utah is gonna say they don't need me and we can go somewhere else." End quote. It's like the most Patrick Beverley quote ever.
That
like
is,
acting like he's like the Kevin Durant of the team. Like, oh, I'm gonna decide if another team can go win or something.
Remember,
like that.
he did say the next 5 years are his.
Yeah. The next 5 years are his, and even though they didn't even make it to the conference finals.
Hey, they won the play-in. They beat the
that's true.
Clippers. We got that amazing moment in Minnesota where they all celebrated like they won the title for just making it to the playoffs. But you know what? That was a nice moment. I know everyone clowned on it and made fun of it, but for a small franchise like Minnesota, that is a big moment for them because it was. I saw so many T-Wolves fans there celebrating like they just won the whole thing because it's like, listen, this is Minnesota sports. You don't understand how bad it is here.
We've not had anything to cheer about.
Yes. So I didn't mind it as much, but yes, Pat Beverley, go to a contender. Come to Dallas. It'd be hilarious. I would enjoy it a lot. Well, speaking of Utah, this actually ties in pretty well into our one college football story of the day. Coming from Utah's rivals page, the sources they have are expecting the remaining Pac-12 schools to announce that they're going to stick together. We're going to have the return of the Pac-10, basically, minus USC and UCLA. I really don't know how to feel about this, especially if you're Oregon or Washington, because I know they want to kind of keep the regional ties and everything, but you know they're going to want to jump to the Big Ten as soon as they can. The second they get an offer, they're gone. But I feel like the Pac-12 is going to make the same mistake the ACC does, and they're just going to slowly die out and become irrelevant because they're not going to have the biggest brand there. You're going to say, okay, Oregon and Washington are two good brands, but they're not a blue blood. And people are going to slowly lose interest even further out on the West Coast.
Yes and no. I think there's still potential. You can add teams. It depends on how they go about it. I get they want to stick together, and I think that's kind of just a for now thing until they can figure out. I mean, we got to remember how fast this happened.
That's true.
I think it did catch them off guard a little bit, especially the names in UCLA and USC. Like, it wasn't like anyone, like a smaller school. It was two pretty big schools in terms of marketing production, too. So I think this is a move where, okay, let's stay together. Let's see what we're going to be able to do, and then we'll kind of go from there. Because I think still a viable option here is San Diego State. Are they a UCLA? Obviously not. Have they been a school that's been relevant in multiple sports over the last few years? Absolutely. We've seen them in the top 25 in football. We've seen them top 25 in basketball. So in those quote-unquote bigger sports, you've got the production from them. So from a San Diego State. Again, is it the size of UCLA? Obviously not. You're not going to replace UCLA with the history they got. So there's schools that they can try to steal from other conferences and find a way out there. And I think San Diego State is a truly big option there. I think Boise State, that's a big option. They've been relevant in a lot of different sports. Not the biggest school, but a place you can market, obviously, being Vegas, UNLV.
Yeah.
That's a possible option. I think I've seen their name thrown out there. So depending on how they want, if they want strictly top talented sports teams, yes, they're going to struggle. They're going to struggle to find that. If they want a good marketing tool school, a bigger city, and then a school that's been relevant in a lot of sports too, there's options. You could get back to 12. I think they could add a UNLV and a San Diego State or a Boise State, something like that. And who knows? This is only the beginning. I mean, we've seen this Pac-12 move, I think it's the start of others. So who's to say an ACC team is like, okay, we need to get at it. Like, this just isn't working.
Who's to say Clemson or Florida State doesn't
decide to say Big Ten at this point with how many teams there are in that conference and how hard it's going to be to go anywhere in that conference now? Who's to say one of those one of those lower-level teams in there? Like, say, again, it's not the biggest destination, and I don't see them doing it, but let's take an Iowa. A team – they're relevant in a lot of sports, but their marketing isn't as big, so maybe they look to kind of make that move if things aren't working out. Because you probably say UCLA and USC are a bigger school than Iowa, so Iowa could take a step back here with that kind of move. Just because you've been top notch doesn't mean it's going to work out well for you. You still got to overcome some obstacles now. So to me, there's going to be a lot of options. I think there's possibly some Big 12 schools that. Obviously, Big 12 is adding. Even though they lost to Oklahoma and Texas, they're going to add a couple more. But who's to say that doesn't work out for School A or School B, and now they want to move. So, to me, this move here is let's figure out something. This all happened so fast. Let's stay together for now and see what we can do, and then go from there.
I think that's a really good point, Andrew, that basically no one is safe.
Yeah.
We're in the modern era of college football. No one is safe from anything. I think another team from the Mountain West that could be viable would be Fresno State. They're another team that you think of consistently a good program in football. Basketball could use a little work, but if they get going in both of those, they add a little bit more of that Northern California, Central California market. Pair them up with a San Diego State or a Las Vegas or a UNLV, I guess I'd say. They might as well be Las Vegas University.
Well, and here's the thing, too, with those schools. Obviously, if you're making that jump, you're going to have sports where, okay, we need to improve on. The other thing you got to remember, too, though, is when they do make that jump, and I'm not saying I don't see it as the only recruiting tool, but some recruits do.
Yes.
Do I want to play in this conference? Do I want to play in that conference? So if you're going to be able to say, oh, we jumped to the Pac-12. You're going to be able to play in the Pac-12 now and go against an Oregon. You're going to get to play in Oregon every year. You're going to get to play in Washington every year. That's going to be an intriguing thing for them, too. So, obviously, every school, no matter what school you're going to bring to the Pac-12, will have a little bit to catch there for the competitive advantage. But I think it will help a little bit in recruiting as well.
I think it will. I think we see this all the time, especially in the SEC where, I've heard people call it the SEC superpower, where it's, we're in the SEC now, which automatically makes us 10 times better than we were before. Look at Texas A&M. They're the best example, They were going 8-4 in the Big 12. Now they're going 8-4 in the SEC. And they go from a team that was barely top 25 to, they're top 15 because they played SEC teams. It's just like, I don't know how that worked, but it sure works well on recruiting trail. But I'm going to turn it over to you, Andrew, as we make our way over to baseball. You said to me before the show you had a bone to pick here, so I will let you go at it. Talk about MLB All-Star Game. Lineups are officially out. Put them on the screen there real quick, and I'll let you go, and then I'll get back and talk about the lineups real quick.
Yeah, I got this. Honestly, goes beyond baseball. I think at this point, can we rename these games instead of All-Star Game? Can we just go do name game?
Yeah,
because that's what it's become. It just becomes on whose name's bigger than this person's. You ask the average fan. A lot of people don't know Ty France.
Yes,
Ty France is having a phenomenal year at first base. One of the best years. It's the best year of his career. One of the best years out of players in the league this season. And he doesn't even make the All-Star game. And nothing against the guys that made it. Obviously, Vlad Guerrero is a phenomenal player and everything. But it's become with fan vote, it's become about who's the bigger name. Let's take Fernando Tatis. I love the guy. He's one of the best young players to watch in baseball. How many games has he played this year, Cade? Do you know?
I don't, honestly. I'm going to get into my little spiel about baseball after you because to me this is always the turning point of when I start really caring about baseball because, yes, every game matters. I know we've talked about that before, but to me it's like I've got other things going.
Yeah.
If I'm going to watch the NBA postseason, I'm going to watch the NHL postseason. To me, I watch the home run derby, and now it's okay. Now baseball takes priority for about a month, and then it becomes number 2 with football going on, but still up there. So no, the answer is you can ask me any baseball question, and I'd be like, I mean, I guess. It could be a number question. I guess. I mean, I don't know.
Well, the answer is 0. He's played 0.
There we go.
You want to know where he finished in shortstop All-Star voting?
Pretty high, I'm going to assume. There we go.
Like that. Think about all those votes.
But listen, he did so good on the bench in the dugout, Andrew.
It's just to me, it's gotten to that point where, and I get it. It's a game of fun. And that's what it is.
Yes.
But to me, if you're gonna really call it the All-Star game, if you're really gonna honor and that's where I think the fun games of what they're doing with Albert Pujols, adding him to the home run derby. That's where I think that's awesome. That's a great thing. The dunk contest. That's where they have all these other All-Star events where you can honor these guys.
Yes.
And it's not even that case. I mean, because obviously none of these guys, like a Vlager, he's obviously got a lot left. But there's guys in these games when people are doing the fan votes, they don't even know, they don't know who they are. Ty France is hitting 306 this year with 10 home runs. His WAR is 2.7, one of the higher ones, and he's a guy that absolutely deserves to be there. And he, not only that, but he wasn't even high enough fan vote wise to be a replacement.
Yes.
And that, especially the replacement, that should be picked by, I don't know. And I don't know the best way to do it. Obviously, there's going to be bias no matter which way you do it. If you have writers do it, they're going to be biased towards some of their own players. And I get it. I think it's kind of cool, but I get it. This is another argument I've heard when I've said this before is, well, baseball does the rule where every single team has to have at least one All-Star. So you obviously take away from other teams in that sense of having an All-Star because take whatever bad team you want. Just take the Pirates. The Pirates have to have an All-Star, so that's going to take away probably a guy that actually deserved it. So I get there's arguments to be made there. I just think it's become more of let's get our fan favorites in. Yeah. Because you see people posting on social media all the time, oh, I'm a Phillies fan, so I'm going to vote all 9 Phillies guys because we want to get our Phillies into the postseason.
To be fair, it's promoted that way because I've seen the Cardinals do that too. Where it's vote all the Cardinals in, and the Mavs did it too, where it was okay, it was no, I'm not going to vote Dorian Finney-Smith. Yeah. As much as he should make he got that dog in him team, or something silly like that. He's not an All-Star. I wish he was. It'd be amazing. I'd do it as a joke once and then vote in my actual people. But, and one bone I have to pick here, I guess, is more on the MLB marketing. Because I'm looking at some of the All-Stars, and I'm a very casual baseball fan. I've said that time and time again. I will follow about now. And, having you here helps me because you can catch me up on what's been going on. But I look at a lot of these games, mainly the American League, and I don't understand this, but, Toronto has 2 All-Stars starting. Why are we not advertising them more? If they've got 2 great players. I know Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Alejandro Kirk as well, and they don't even talk about it. I understand you have your media markets and things like that, but when you only have one baseball game a week that's highlighted on ESPN, I don't need to see the Yankees-Red Sox every single week. I understand they get viewership, but show some other teams. I get mad at this with the NBA too, where they had the Lakers half the Lakers season on the NBA, and it was just listen, that's cool and all. You could show the big name teams because the Yankees are very good this year. They deserve to be shown. But it's not I need to see them Saturday night on Fox and then Sunday night on ESPN and then Tuesday night on TBS and then Wednesday night on FS1. Show some variety to show off the league. If you want to grow the game, you have to grow the game everywhere. You can't just make everyone a Yankees or Dodgers fan.
No, absolutely. That's something that baseball, I don't know, for whatever reason, the last few years, longer than that even, it has been probably the worst marketed sport, and it's taken a hit for it. And I get it. The quote-unquote ratings for the World Series and everything have fluctuated up and down a little bit, but it's because it's the World Series. It's the biggest game of the year. Of course, people are going to tune in no matter whether they know the guys or not.
It's something that's just ingrained into American culture in general.
It's just like the Super Bowl. You're going to tell me every single one of those million people know everybody on the – no, it's just it's Super Bowl.
Half the time you're just watching for the commercials.
Exactly. So, no, and that's where, you look at the other sports. Who's the biggest player? Let's just go through real quick.
Yeah.
NFL, who would you say the biggest player is?
I would say the biggest face is Tom Brady
And
still.
everybody knows Tom Brady
Yes.
because of how much he's marketed.
Yes.
Who's the biggest face of baseball?
I would still say Mike Trout because I feel like he gets talked about every other, this is what the Angels are doing. Aaron Judge, I think, is right there behind him. It really depends on which episode of SportsCenter you watch that night.
See, that's the problem.
Yeah.
We can't even name because we're not asking.
Or Ohtani. Ohtani could also be there,
because
too.
we're not asking who the best player is.
Yeah.
We're asking the biggest market. Like,
Yes.
that's a problem when you can't even name number one. I'm not even asking for number 3 or 4.
Yeah.
I'm asking for number 1. Who's the number 1 marketed player in NBA?
LeBron James.
Who's the number 1 marketed player in NHL?
I mean, that's probably got to be Crosby still.
Like it's an easy answer for every other sport. You go to baseball.
And it really depends on who your team is, where it's like,
Yeah.
I guess it's also the regional thing, too, where you have all the regional sports networks. But even the NBA has that set up in the NHL, but they don't have this as screwed up as baseball does.
I will never forgive them for, man, what year was it? 18, I think. It was either 18 or 19 World Series. I can't remember. But the Boston Red Sox played the Los Angeles Dodgers in the World Series. 2 of the most historic teams ever in the MLB. And it was marketed so poorly. Like, they could have ran away with so many different headlines.
Yes.
From the history between those 2 teams, from the stars on the teams and that point. I mean, you had star after star in that World Series, and people couldn't people couldn't name some of the players in there. It's the stars in there. 2, some people couldn't even name who was in the World Series. Like, there is so many issues with the marketing in baseball right now. Like, I bet you if you ask I mean, I guess you've said it. You're an average MLB fan.
Yes.
And I'd honestly put you a little bit above average too from people that I've talked baseball with. Out of those 18 guys on the screen, how much do you actually know?
Well, I can go person by person here. I guess Bryce Harper I know because he gets advertised a lot, whether it be Nationals or Phillies. Jock Peterson I heard about forever because, Dodgers, things like that. So I remember hearing about him. Acuna I remember. Betts I remember. Machado. I don't
Machado.
know. Machado, okay. I've got it right the first time. Trey Turner, yes. The only guy I don't know from the NL is Jazz Chisholm Jr. because it's Marlins, and the Marlins are an afterthought most of the time.
Which is funny because he has some of the out of that group. Obviously, I don't know the guys person to person, but based off the way they act on the field and stuff, Jazz Chisholm probably has the biggest personality out of almost any of those guys you just mentioned.
And like you said, half these guys, I've still heard more about Tatis than half these guys, and he, like you said, he's not even playing.
Trey Turner, he's probably. I will actually say it because I think he's one of the most undervalued. I'm talking talent and marketing. One of the most undervalued players in the game. I'd honestly argue he's a top. I don't know if I go as far as the best shortstop right now, but he's to me at least a top 3 shortstop. And I bet you again, I think you're above average, so I'm not fully surprised you've heard the name.
Yeah.
But you ask an average fan, I bet you don't even know who Trey Turner is. And he's probably the best, if not top 3 shortstop.
And then looking at the American League, Ohtani, yes. Stanton, yes. Trout, yes. Judge, yes. Who the heck is Rafael Devers?
That is another huge problem. Again,
the Red Sox are good, and I don't even know who this guy is.
Click on his name real quick because I want you to I want you to see how good his numbers are and how bad he's marketed.
Okay, let's see here. Yeah, I've never seen this face before either.
And he's hitting 327 with 19 home runs and 57 RBIs before the All-Star break.
Yeah. My goodness.
This is my point. You got to draw, and they're all worried about the rules of the game bringing in average fans. No, if you want to bring in average fans, bring in, market them. Market your talented superstar players.
Yeah, I don't understand this. Yeah, he is hitting 327. That's pretty good. If I cared, if I was told to care about, Tim Anderson just sounds like the most generic name. That just sounds, first of all, that's a baseball name.
It is
a
baseball name.
But second of all, the White Sox are horrible this year, aren't they? Compared to their
expectations.
Yeah,
they're supposed to be good.
I've seen them one time, and that's when their fan base was trying to fire La Russa already. That's the only time I've heard about the White Sox at all this year.
Do you know who Tim Anderson is?
I don't know who Tim Anderson is.
That's another problem. He would probably be the second, if not he'd be the highest on the AL team, I'd say, personality-wise.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's around Jazz Chisholm. But Tim Anderson, another guy. You know what he's going to compete for this year? The batting title. He's competed for it the last 2 or 3 years, probably. Like that. That's to your point. That's the problem with baseball is the marketing. They focus on the wrong things, and I don't know.
Yeah, and then Guerrero Jr. I've heard of before. I mean, the home run derby last year or 2 years ago where he had that impressive round where he just mainly because I kept seeing memes where it's just look at this big lad right here, and he just absolutely destroys it. But Alejandro Kirk for the Blue Jays, no idea who he is. Never heard of. Didn't even know he was a player.
Yeah. Well, to be fair on him, he's like a young up and coming player.
Yeah, well, to be fair, that's how the Blue Jays should be marketed. Is this a young up and coming team trying to knock out the two powers that be, and also their Canada's team? So that's a little bit interesting, anyway.
And I will say this: here's another test, and this is actually This is something I want us to. Let's see. Home run derby's Monday, so the All-Star game's Tuesday.
Yeah.
So Thursday. So next Thursday.
Well, I will not be here next Thursday.
Okay.
I'll be on the road.
Oh, that's fine. So maybe next Tuesday. Are you gonna be here Tuesday?
Yes.
Okay. So maybe next Tuesday because it will be the day of the game. So I will. The marketing strategies up until next Tuesday should be pretty good, and we can even revisit that following Tuesday. So this one I want both of us to pay attention to see how much we see this. Bryce Harper, he's hurt. He's not going to start. Read the name. Atlanta's William Contreras is going to start in DH replacing him, right? Yeah. You're going to have...
I honestly, the first time I saw that, I was like, what do you mean Contreras? Contreras is already up there. He plays for the Cubs. What are you talking about?
That's my point. So you have two people related.
Yeah.
Are going to be starting in the All-Star game.
Yeah.
Let's see how much that's marketed.
Okay.
That I don't... We could try to play this game with other stuff too, but again... Because that should be one of the easiest marketing strategies. You got two siblings.
Yeah, two all-star
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure they're brothers, if not they're cousins. I know they're related. I'm like 90% sure they're brothers, though. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I want to see how much they take advantage of that as a strategy. Because that should be easily taken advantage of.
Yeah, I feel like that's a pretty significant thing.
So I'm gonna let you
know if Steph and Seth were both all-stars in the NBA, they would never shut up about it.
Exactly. So I'm gonna get that out there now. You have those two.
Okay.
Due to the Harper injury, either way, they would both have been All-Stars. Yeah. But due to the Harper injury, they will both be starting. Mm-hmm. Let's see how much they take advantage of the market.
See, the other thing about the All-Star game that was weird to me is, like, the baseball All-Star game, I've gotten to where I don't even watch it because half the time they're not even talking about the game. Now, granted, it's a big kind of more, like, celebration of baseball, but I watched it one time, and this guy, like, pulls out his cell phone and takes a selfie in the outfield during the game. And they were focusing on that, and I was like, By the way, 3 pitches have happened. We're not even going to talk about that.
Well, the one year they all did it with I'm a blank on the umpire. I don't know if they all did it.
Joe West or something.
Yeah, it was Joe. He was retiring, and they all did it with him or something like that. So,
they should have ejected him. That's what they should have done for him. That would have been funny.
It's gonna be interesting to look at. Again, this is the marketing more is baseball. We got into that, but but overall. I mean, get back to the rosters. No, I think it's filled with great talent. It's interesting. I mean, good for Ohtani. Obviously, he's the DH there.
Yeah.
He would have made it either way. They could have put him as a pitcher and then took advantage of that and had another All-Star as a DH. So I was a little surprised to actually see him win the DH spot there. But, no, yeah, I think overall it's going to be a fun game. I will say the one thing I always will miss in baseball, and I wish other sports would do this too, because I truly believe if you're actually the best team, it shouldn't matter home field advantage.
Yeah.
Whether you start. So I loved it when baseball. I don't know if you remember this.
Yeah, determined the home field advantage.
Winner of the All-Star game, no matter what team ended up making it, if the AL won, the American League team that represents gets home field advantage.
Yeah.
If the NL won, they got it.
I always wish the NBA did that. I think that'd be a neat little thing.
I think every sport should do it because again, if you're truly the best team, you obviously can win anywhere. Yeah. Like if. Well, again, let's just take the two best teams. Right now, if you go record-wise, it's the Dodgers and the Yankees. Obviously, two powerhouse organizations. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously, you'd rather home field, but either one of them can win on either's field. Yes. So, I mean, I think it's cool. I think it's cool to do that. I think they took it away right before – this was 2019, right before the COVID year. That's something I miss. I wish baseball would go back to. And, honestly, I wish other sports could adapt to it.
I wish so, too. There's a lot of things I think baseball does right, but man, there are a lot of things they do wrong. And when they strike out, they really strike out. And when they do something well, it's about like watching a single. That's about it. But moving on to the thing I actually care about on home run derby, best thing of All-Star Weekend, always. ESPN has put out a little graphic of the 5 people we know that are going to be in it right now. Basically, can anybody beat Pete Alonso? He's trying to go for a 3-peat here in the home run derby. It's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult to go up against it, but looking at some of the field, the rest of the field will be revealed Thursday night at 6, so we will probably be on the air as it is announced. So that'll be a little bit interesting to talk about when that happens. But so far, you've got Pete Alonso, you have Ronald Acuna Jr., you have Albert Pujols getting a kind of farewell home run derby appearance, you have Juan Soto, and you have Kyle Schwarber. So those are the 5 we have so far. ESPN's a nice little why they can, why they won't, things like that. I'm just excited to see it. It's always one of my favorite events of the year. Just get some guys together. The one thing I always find funny, though, is ESPN never judges the time correctly on it, because I'm like, oh, yeah, this will last 2 hours. It's not going to last 2 hours. You're going to get some amazing round where they each hit 25 or something like that.
Especially the new format, which I think, if there's one thing you mentioned, baseball's done something right.
Yeah.
They've hit a home run with this new home run derby.
Like
this. I love the new bracketed format, the timed, and I mean it was nothing against the old. I mean obviously everyone fell in love with the old one of the 10 outs thing, but no, this time it creates a competition of that, of all that, and I mean obviously. I think it creates a fun dynamic of, okay, you're going to face this guy in the first round, and that's why I'm interested to see where they go with these final 3 guys, because we're so used to, shout out to my good friend Sam, he pointed this out, we were texting about it, he mentioned there's already been 5 NL players mentioned. They do an 8-player bracket, usually they do 4 and 4 and have it kind of like an AL-NL thing too, but you already got 5 NL guys, so only. Well, at max now you can only have 3 AL guys, so it'll be interesting to see if
who knows. Maybe they'll add more NL guys. It's just all National League.
I was saying maybe they're just going to throw away with that. And here's the other problem I was telling him about was you had Aaron Judge decline it. He doesn't want to be in the home run derby. You have the number 2 or 3. I think he's 2, second in the AL in home runs. He's hurt, so he can't participate. Yep. And Mike Trout, he's 3rd. He's already said he doesn't want to participate in home run derby. So that's obviously been another part of the issue. Is your 3 leaders in the AL all won't play for different reasons. So. No, it's always a fun time, and I always look for. I think you already said it, but I look forward to the home run derby more than the actual All-Star game.
Yeah, so that is the one thing that I find it a little weird because usually everyone else's All-Star weekend in the MLB is like, no, we're going to do it Monday, Tuesday, which I mean you could get away with being the summer, but it is just a little odd.
Yeah, I never understood that. The only thing I could think of is since the MLB always lives off of like 3-game series, they want to be able to start fresh with a Friday, Saturday, where if you do a Friday, Saturday, you're running into odd Monday, Tuesday off days too. So I think it's just kind of the way their schedule shapes out more than anything. Yeah. And I think they figure they might draw more people during the week because people might get home from work and just throw it on, where weekends are going to be a little tougher. I don't know. I don't know the reasoning because I guess who's their competition right now? You mentioned the Canadian Football League, Major League Soccer. But a lot of that's the weekend, so I don't know. I think they could kind of.
But a lot of that is like MLS even. That'd be like that's usually 2:00 Saturday afternoon. You're not going to do the All-Star game at 2:00 Saturday afternoon.
True. That's true too.
Especially on the West Coast, you're going to do it at night.
I will call out the Marlins here. Can we?
We can always call out the Marlins.
We need to figure out Marlins. Like you're the only NL East team with a non-home run derby contender. Yeah. Braves got Acuna, Phillies got Schwarber, Mets got Alonso, Nationals got Juan Soto.
Yep.
Where's your home run derby?
Yeah.
Where's your,
Come on, Marlins.
Where's your player at? Come on.
Yeah, I don't know. The Marlins are a weird bunch. I mean, they literally had Marlins in their ballpark.
That is true.
That's the thing they did.
Rays got Rays in their ballpark
That
too.
is true. Florida baseball is just weird. They also have the legendary Tropicana Field.
Well, legendary is a word.
Legendary. That's listen, they've played football games on that. I've seen turf go flying in the air on that place, but for football and baseball.
They're also known for those cowbells. Everyone else uses like rally towels.
Everyone
else uses rally towels in like playoff atmosphere games. I'll never forget that. Phillies make the World Series, and obviously it was the whole playoffs, but I really didn't catch along till the playoff. Rays are out there using cowbells. I'm like. They got annoying by the end of the first inning.
Listen, that doesn't even fit the culture of Florida. If anything, they should have just brought Florida Man.
Right?
Just have a guy just show up and start yelling about trees or something. Like, just have the most random thing possible. But getting into the final thing to talk about, finishing up baseball for a little bit until we come back next week and talk about the All-Star game and probably talk about it a little bit this Thursday too. Looking at the standings, not a whole lot has changed, especially in the American League. Yankees are still doing their thing, 61 and 25. Everyone's still trying to chase them. The Twins are holding on for dear life. Got the 3.5 game lead over the Guardians in the battle of just trying to stay above 500 out there. White Sox are meddling around again. They've lost 2 in a row. They've lost 6 of their last 10. And the Tigers and Royals, man, just the battle for who can be the worst team. They were so bad they had a game with no announcers. That's all I could say.
I don't even want to get into that. I don't even know how MLB lets that happen. So I'm not even.
I will let you get into it.
No, I'm not even gonna. That's just gonna turn another marketing thing. So
I mean,
you know what?
I've seen. I have heard people complain for a long time they don't like announcers, so they want to see a game without them just to get like the authentic crowd experience. I was like, then why did you choose Detroit, Kansas City?
Yeah.
What do you want to hear? The emptiness?
Here's the thing. If you don't want to listen to announcers, mute your TV, throw on music, throw on a podcast, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
I've done that before. If I'm not watching a Phillies game, it's like, okay, I just want in the background. You throw the game on the TV, you mute the TV, you put on a podcast or music or something, whatever you're into, or even an audio book. I mean, that's your way around it. Listen, I don't know how you let a game go with no announcers. Yeah, if you want to do one of those things ESPN does, we're going to do one broadcast with the announcers. Go ahead, stream it without a broadcaster. Go ahead and do that. Because wasn't the game on, was it Peacock? I think it was one of the Peacock games. So you can easily set up 2 streams.
Yes.
You let the audio, I don't know. I don't know how the MLB lets that happen. That's just another thing that you can chalk up in the laughable things for the MLB season.
That's another thing you can add to the I don't even know. And in the AL West, the Astros still doing their thing. Mariners, though, they're just kind of vibing. 45-42, second in the AL West. They're just continuing to be the Mariners. They're not the embarrassment of baseball. Haven't been for a few years. They're getting respectable, which you like to see the Mariners do well. I feel like they're kind of everyone's second favorite team by default. Kind of how a lot of people feel about the Bills in the NFL.
I feel like the Mariners, I feel like they are that team. That last year, they had a chance and they made that weird trade at the deadline. But this division's always intriguing because obviously you always have the Astros, and it seems like another team in this division is just randomly surprising. Yeah. Like A's sometimes.
And it's never the Angels. Yeah, that's the other funny
the Angels,
part.
You can bank on the Astros being good, and you can bank on the Angels being bad. Yeah. That's just the way it works. I mean, that's another weird. I don't even understand it. Like, you can argue the Angels have more talent than a ton of teams in the MLB. I'd argue they have more talent than the Brewers. I mean, they have more talent than probably not the Mets. Probably more talent than the Twins. I mean, I'd take Trout and Ohtani over. That's the thing. I'd take Trout and Ohtani over pretty much anybody on anybody's team. Mm-hmm. And you have both of them. Like, you have 2 MVPs on your team.
You do.
And you can never even come close to the playoffs.
And you're still 11 games below 500.
Mike Trout hasn't played in a playoff game since 2014, I think it is. Yeah. And that was like a 1-game wild card playing game or something like that. I will say that is the one thing, and I know it's going to sound surprising, me giving them will be a benefit of the doubt here. Yeah. But unlike other sports, I mean, you got your superstar teams in the NBA. Yeah. Obviously Lakers are beat up by injuries, so that's why they missed the playoffs. Yeah. But in the end, on a typical year, LeBron James and Anthony Davis, they're going to make the playoffs. Kevin Durant, and we joked about how bad the Nets were this year. They made that they're going to make the playoffs. Sixers, Embiid and Harden, they're going to make the playoffs. I mean, you can keep going. Dallas, obviously, they have Luka. Luka's going to get them in the playoffs every year. The Heat, they got Jimmy Butler. Everyone thought they were going to be bad. Don't. They have a superstar in Jimmy Butler. He got him to the playoffs, ended up being the 1 seed. Baseball, you can have all the talent in the world, but for some reason, it might not get you anywhere. The Angels, you have Mike Trout, Ohtani. They obviously had Albert Pujols for a while. Yeah. They traded for Justin Upton on that team, and these teams still missed the play. Like, baseball, you never know what's going to happen, and that's kind of what's fun. And that's one of the reasons that drew me to the sport is it's not always the same typical teams. Like, and I don't know, and that's where the Angels, like, they have all the talent in the world because even their pitchers. I mean, their closer's not bad. It's a weird team.
It is. I mean, baseball's the one sport too where if you're hitting or something like that, you can fail 2 times out of 3 and you still had a good day if you went 1 for 3. depending on how that hit was, especially. But moving over to the NL East, the Phillies still doing their thing, 46-41. They did what I didn't want them to do. You were okay with the Cardinals splitting that series. I did not enjoy the part where we got shut out 2 games in a row, but that is life. Mets are still up 2.5 games over the Braves. Phillies just continuing their run. I mean, it really was just firing Girardi. That really did fix everything.
I will say, I don't know about you. I don't know how much of the series you watched.
I yelled at my phone, and that was about it.
Okay.
I literally went to a movie and did not even remember the game started at 7 and got a notification like, Phillies score 1 run. The game is over. And I was like, what? It was like, yeah, this game lasted 2 hours. I was like, oh, wow. That is impressive.
No, it was a fun series because I talked
was.
about how important it was, even though people might not realize it. Well, it felt, and this goes credit to Busch Stadium and the fans there, it felt like a playoff game in July. Like, everyone in there, and I know St. Louis is obviously a big baseball town too, so, like, all the fans knew the importance. All the players know the importance. Like, it felt like a mid-season playoff game. And that's, if you're looking for another one than that this week, Mets-Braves, they play each other today and tomorrow.
Yeah.
That,
gonna be a big
I don't know if people watched it yesterday, but it felt like a plot. Like, it's huge, and that's what it's fun to get in those games this early.
It is fun to see stuff like that. And then moving on to the NL Central, the Cardinals are, like I just mentioned, they're one of the most consistently inconsistent teams in baseball. And I mean, St. Louis wouldn't have it any other way. With the injuries they've had, everything they've been able to overcome, you're either going to get offense or pitching. You cannot pick both. Yeah. Except for 1 game out of a 4-game series. Then sometimes you get both. But the Brewers, I would like to congratulate them. You lost to the Cubs. How did you even do that? I say that as a Cardinals fan who also sees that happen a lot. Cardinals are only 2 games out. They're slowly making their climb back in, trying to get something going here right before the All-Star break. Cardinals played the Dodgers, so they'll already be out in L.A. for the break.
That'll be another fun series.
Yeah, they play in about 15 minutes or so here on TBS. So that'll be a fun game. And then, speaking of the Dodgers, they're really just starting to take control of the NL West.
Yeah, we talked about how much the Padres and Giants struggled last week, and it opened up the door for the Dodgers to pull away. I mean, you can just see it. Look at the last 10 games. 9-1, 4-6. That's 5 games right there they made up in the last 10. 9-1, 3-7. There's 6 games they made up in the last 10 games. So, I mean, you subtract those. Think about how close that was. So, 5 games. Padres were only 2 back. Giants, it was closer. I mean, it's still 7 games if you subtract 10 games. But, no, it was a lot closer than that here 2 weeks. Probably 2 weeks ago. And it's just, I don't know. Because Giants won 100-plus games last year. I don't know what happened and why they kind of fell. But that's also the beauty about baseball. It's a long season. You're not going to go out and win 162 games. You're going to go through hot, cold stretches. So I think when it's all said and done, you're going to end up getting a 3-team race there for the West again.
I think so. It's going to be fun to see because, I mean, the Giants are eventually going to figure things out. Yeah. The Padres are going to do what they do at this point. That's still a weird sentence to say. The Padres are going to do what they do best, which is not losing.
Well, you got to remember, this is even more impressive. Their record, 50-38, right?
That wins the Central right now.
I've already mentioned a guy that was voted top 5 in the All-Star votes has not played a game yet. Yeah. And they're supposed to get him back that first week after the break. He's been taking batting practice and stuff, so maybe he'll play a few games in the minors first. But he should be back pretty quick. So my point here is you're only going to get better here in the next coming weeks as you get your All-Star back.
That is true. Looking at the wild card standings real quick before we get out of here, Boston and Tampa Bay both have wild card spots right now in the American League. The Mariners and Blue Jays tied for that final bid, but Cleveland and Baltimore, of all people, that's a fun one to see. Only 1 to 2 games away, and then the White Sox and Rangers also competitive for a wild card spot. And then in the National League, it's the Braves, Padres, and then the tiebreaker between the Phillies and the Cardinals going Philadelphia's way, and the Giants and Marlins only 2 and 4 games behind them.
Yeah, so a couple things I want to touch on here is, first off, let's take a look real quick how good the AL East is. Your worst team is 2 games out of the playoffs.
Yep.
Like, and I get it, they're on an 8-game win streak, and they'll probably come back down to earth and, fall apart.
Probably.
But right now, let's have fun with it.
Yeah, have fun. Baltimore Orioles are almost in the playoffs.
8-game win streak, only a game under 500, and that is the worst team in your division.
Yeah.
And what's even more crazy about that is all those teams with how good they are, the closest team to first place is 14 games back.
Yep.
That shows you how good the Yankees have been this year. Like, that's just incredible. Your worst team is only one game under 500, but your closest team to first place is 14 games after beating them twice in a row on Saturday and Sunday. Like, that's so you think about it, they were going into that Saturday game 16 back. Yeah, and then as far as the NL goes, I mean, Braves and Padres kind of have a good little cushion there. Obviously, Phillies and Cardinals, I think they'll catch up. And I mentioned this last week. I still believe the Cardinals, I think, take that division. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. But, no, I mean, I always love saying this, and I will hammer it home, and I'm sorry if people get tired of it. But I think it's important to realize how important a lot of these games are. We're not even at the All-Star break.
Yep.
The Phillies, they're done games they've already played the Cardinals. They've already played the Padres. They've already played the Dodgers. They've already played the Brewers. And they've already played the Giants. That's 5 teams you're going to be competing with in the wild card that, one, you will not play again, and 2, we talk about how important the tiebreakers are now because they don't do the extra game with it. Baseball used to do.
Yeah, they used to do game 163.
Game 163. Now this year they're going to do it to the tiebreaker. So the Phillies, 5 teams you're competing for that wild card. Obviously, the Dodgers won to win the division. But between the Padres, Giants, Cardinals, Brewers, you're already done. And that goes for those 5 teams.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if they played all the other ones. This goes against the Phillies.
Yeah.
But, yeah, the Phillies have already played all 5 of those teams. They can't make up ground now on any of those teams head-to-head. And whether they won the tiebreaker or not, that's already taken care of. So, like, that's always my point. And this goes for all sports. I mean, sometimes you get, I think it's this year, I forget what team it is. They're playing each other. I think it's football. They're playing they're playing one of their division games. Or both their division games against the same team like twice in the first 5 weeks of the season.
Yeah.
If you get swept by those teams, you're already dug yourself a 2-game hole where you can't make up that ground. So, like, to me, like, that's why I always laugh when I hear it in all sports, even basketball. Oh, it's game 3, like game 5. Like, no, it's I mean, every game they'll come back.
It might be game 1 of 2 against that team for the whole year.
Yeah, exactly.
But that will do it for today. It has been a fun time, as always, on this show. We did not do what I thought we were going to do. I said 30-minute show maybe, and here we are at an hour and 3 minutes. So we've made a way to find time here, Andrew.
There's always a way.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
Exactly.
But as always, we thank you for tuning in. If you liked what you heard this evening, do not feel like you should not subscribe, because you should, honestly. I'm going to say it right now. You should subscribe, whether it be to our NWTV7 YouTube channel or the Guys Who Stare at Stats. Give us a follow here on Twitch, and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok to get more information about when the show goes live. We should be back, barring something weird happening, Thursday at 5:30 p.m. Central Time here on twitch.tv/NWTV7. For Andrew Santangelo, I'm Cade Kennedy, and have a great night, everybody.